My pleasure.
Senator, what do you think about the economic ideas we're hearing from the GOP field?
You know, Al, it is amazing how right-wing extremist the modern Republican Party has become. At the end of the day, what these guys believe is that at a time of massive wealth and income inequality, you need to give huge tax breaks to billionaires and to large corporations. At a time when the middle class is shrinking, we got 45 million people living in poverty. What they want to do is cut Social Security, cut Medicare or privatize Medicare, voucherize it. They want to make massive cuts to Medicaid. They want to throw millions of people off of health insurance by ending the Affordable Care Act. Some of them want to eliminate the concept of the minimum wage. They want to end the Environmental Protection Agency. This is an extreme right-wing party funded by the Koch brothers and other billionaires. They are not representing anything more than a small number of Americans.
You know, I remember you floated the idea of debates involving both Democratic and Republican candidates. How would that change what we're seeing tonight?
What I think, Al, is the Republicans literally get away with murder because people don't know what their agenda is. Nobody knows that their budget threw 27 million people off of Medicare, off of health care. Nobody knew that they cut Pell Grants by $90 billion. Nobody knows that they gave $250 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. They have got to be confronted. The American people want economic policies that protect working families, not millionaires and billionaires. They want to raise the minimum wage. They don't want to do away with the concept of the minimum wage. They want to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. They want to make public colleges and universities tuition free. They want to expand the ability of people to vote, not go forward with voter suppression and undermining the Voting Rights Act. They want to have immigration reform, not throw people out of this country. The Republican agenda is so right-wing, I don't think it represents more than 10, 15% of the American people. We have got to confront them on that, and having debates with them would allow us to do that.
All right, let's talk about the Democratic campaign. I spoke with Secretary Clinton today on my radio show, and I want to play you some of what she said about voting rights.
I can tell you, whoever I sit across from in the debates in the general election, I will be raising this because this is such a fundamental constitutional right. The best way to repudiate this, in addition to the lawsuits and the efforts we need to undertake, and when I'm president, appoint Supreme Court justices who care more about protecting an individual's right to vote than a billionaire's right to buy an election, is for people to turn out and vote.
Whoever she sits across from in general debate, appointing Supreme Court justices when she's president, do you think Secretary Clinton is getting a little ahead of herself, Senator?
Well, maybe. She's going to have to win the Democratic primary and caucus process, and that's not for certain. I think our campaign is gaining a whole lot of momentum, Al, not just in New Hampshire and Iowa, but all over this country. We're heading to the West Coast this weekend. I think we're going to do events in Seattle, Portland, LA. I would be surprised if we didn't have 10,000 people or more out at each of these events. But I think on the issue of voting rights, let me just say this. I'm a politician. I've run in a lot of elections. Sometimes I win. Most of the times I win. Sometimes I've lost. It has never occurred to me for 1 second that the way to win an election is to make it impossible for people who disagree with me to vote. People who hold that view, who don't have the guts to fight for their ideas, but who think they should win elections by making it impossible for people of color, for poor people, for old people to vote, they are cowards. They are political cowards who do not have the confidence that their ideas can win, and they use simply brute force to keep people from voting. If there is anything that I can think of that is not only disgraceful but un-American, it is those people who are trying to keep Americans from voting. We have got to stand up to them. I've just introduced legislation that calls for universal voter registration. We are way behind many other countries. in terms of making it easy for people to register. That's what we've got to do. We need to pass real campaign finance reform, not only overturn Citizens United, but move to public funding of elections. I want to see America have the highest voter turnout of any major country, not one of the lowest.
Senator, today the Democratic National Committee announced its debate schedule. First debate in Nevada, October the 13th, a total of 6 debates. What in those debates do you most want to debate your opponents, Secretary Clinton, former Governor O'Malley? What is the distinguishing differences that you want to debate them on and bring out to the American public, particularly Democratic primary and caucus voters?
Good. Well, I think Secretary Clinton and I have many very serious disagreements. I am strongly supportive of expanding Social Security, not cutting it. I don't know that the Secretary has voiced an opinion on that. We opposed to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and have been opposed to a series of disastrous trade agreements which have cost us millions of jobs. I am strongly opposed to the Keystone Pipeline because I think that climate change is one of the most significant global issues facing us. We should not be excavating and transporting some of the dirtiest fuel on Earth. I voted against the USA Patriot Act. I believe that terrorism is a serious threat, but I don't think we have to undermine our Constitution or our privacy rights. The Secretary voted for it. Bottom line, though, is I think that if we're going to expand the middle class, if we're going to lower poverty, if we're going to provide health care to all Americans as a right, Al, we need a strong grassroots political movement to stand up to the billionaire class, to stand up to Wall Street. That is what I have been doing for my entire political life, standing up to the most powerful special interest in this country. People will have to judge for themselves whether that is the Secretary Clinton's record.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for your time.